Welcome to another episode of Run with Benny. Something different today. I'm here today surrounded by all of the shoes that I've collected over 7 or 8 months of shoe reviewing, and I've decided it's time to cull down that collection. I don't really believe in hanging on to all these shoes that I'm not using so much just to have them in the background of the shot. So what I'm going to do today is work out what I'm going to keep, what I'm going to get rid of, and I want to explain to you exactly why. Let's chat. Hi there, I'm Chris, a journalist who loves nothing more than cutting through the marketing hype to tell it like it really is. And today I am surrounded by 26 pairs of running shoes, all of which Benny and I have tested since we started this channel about 7 or 8 months ago. I've run out of room. I've got nowhere to store these shoes, and so over the next couple of weeks I'm going to be selling most of these shoes, but today I want to decide what I'm going to keep, what I'm going to get rid of, and I wanted to talk you through the reasoning. But what I'd ultimately like by the end of this episode is to have an idea of what is the ultimate shoe rotation amongst the shoes that I decide to keep. I'm going to go through this from slowest to fastest. So let's start off with the easy and recovery run shoes. And I should kick off with the ones that are on my feet right now, the Nike Vomero Plus. The reason they're on my feet is because they've become some of my favorite walking shoes as well as running shoes. The Vomero Plus are exceptional for long runs, for recovery runs, for slow runs, and for medium pace runs. But for me, honestly, they have now become walking shoes because I love them so much for that purpose. So the Nike Vomero Plus will be staying in my collection and on my feet right now. So let's talk about the Adidas Hyperboost Edge. This is a pair of shoes that kind of confused me from the very beginning, and I've got to say, even though I did enjoy running in them because of the wonderful midsole foam, I have never, since I did that review a couple of months ago, reached out for these shoes to go for any other run in them. They have simply stayed in my cupboard. That's because the upper is very hard, very unforgiving. The shoe doesn't breathe at all, so it's a very hot running experience. And honestly, I'm kind of confused about why Adidas produced this shoe or marketed it as a running shoe in the first place. As a walking shoe, it could work really nicely. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a really nice looking shoe, but the squeakiness of this shoe means that you kind of can't wear it anywhere because you start walking through a shopping center or through a friend's house or wherever you might be, and you become the center of attention because you're just making so much noise. So these ones are going in the for sale bucket. Next up are the Asics Superblast 3s, another shoe that confused me upon its release because Asics had what must have been the best-selling shoe in the world with the Superblast 2, and then they released the Superblast 3, a completely different running experience and a very, very different shoe. Very mushy, very slow feeling, and by the way, this is just my opinion. I know that a lot of people love these shoes, but I don't think anybody who loved the Superblast 2s enjoys the experience of running in the Superblast 3s. Once again, since I tested and reviewed these shoes, the Superblast 3s, I've never ever reached for them. I don't really enjoy running in them. My wife Jenny, she actually loves every single pair of shoes she's ever run in apart from the Superblast 3s. She's asked me to get rid of hers as well, so these ones are going in the for sale bucket. And finally, in the easy run category, we have the Puma MagMax 2s. Whenever I go for an easy run these days, the MagMax 2s are the shoes that I reach for. I think they are a spectacular shoe for easy runs, for recovery runs, for long relaxed runs. I really enjoy running in the MagMax 2. I think they're an incredibly underrated shoe. They're max stack, but they are not too mushy. They're not slow feeling. They've got plenty of energy return, and they are absolutely my number one choice for easy runs and for recovery runs. Puma MagMax 2, these are a keeper. So I'll put the shoes I'm keeping over on this side. Next up, why don't we talk about the daily trainers? First of all, of course, the absolute classics Evo SLs. I've got here the Evo SL Original with a new pair of Puma race laces in them because the laces that come with Evo SLs are such trash. And I've also got the Evo SL Woven. I am actually going to split these two here. I am going to get rid of the Evo SL Originals just because there are too many sins that need to be forgiven with these shoes. For me, there's just too much room up in the toe box. They're a bit big and a bit floppy and a bit kind of loose feeling. The laces, as I said, are absolute rubbish and need to be replaced. The ungusseted tongue is too short, and often you find that when you do runner's lacing, the lace rubs across the top of your foot. And sometimes for certain runners, not for me, but for certain people, the ungusseted tongue also gathers during a run and becomes quite uncomfortable. And so for me, I'm finding that I use these shoes rarely, not because I don't like them, just because there are other shoes now that do the job better. So these ones are going in the for sale bin. However, the Evo SL Wovens are a different creature altogether. The slightly lower volume toe box gets rid of that loose feeling around the toes and really locks your foot down very nicely against this spectacular Lightstrike Pro foam. The fact that the tongue in this woven is gusseted gets rid of all those tongue behavioral issues that we had in the Evo SL Original. And I love the material. It's a bit warmer than the Evo SL Original. It's a bit less breathable. It's a tiny bit more water resistant. And I really particularly love running in these shoes in winter. They keep your feet a tiny bit warmer. They do breathe a little bit. They're not super hot shoes like the Adidas Hyperboost Edge. This is a very thin and quite forgiving, slightly stretchy material, but I really love running in the Evo SL Wovens. Plus, there is the fact that they are just the best looking pair of shoes I own, so how could I get rid of them? So the Wovens are staying. Then we have the Asics Novablast 5s. I am not a fan of Novablasts, and I know a lot of people out there really are, including my wife Jenny. She loves them and will do hundreds of kilometers in them. I find them fairly average, fairly kind of vanilla shoes. I think for the first 50 or 60 kilometers, they feel lovely and very, very bouncy. And after that, it's like someone's let the air out of the tires. They just go flat very, very quickly. I'm really not into Novablasts. I think they're just a very well marketed pair of shoes. But once again, that's just me as someone who very much runs up on their forefoot. So it's probably got to do with my particular gait. But the Novablasts after 70 or 80 kilometers are going in the sale bin. Then we have the last two pairs of daily trainers. First up, we have the Saucony Endorphin Azuras. This is a shoe that I really loved running in during the reviews that I was doing, but actually I never really reached for them after that. I think they have an incredible foam. I really do like the foam in this shoe. I particularly love the rocker at the front of this shoe, the really pronounced rocker, which means that you can move from a medium pace to a fast pace during a run very, very quickly and very easily. I also really enjoyed the outsole. Not only is it very effective and very sticky, but it's also very nice looking. The thing I don't like about this shoe is all of the design, all of the adornments around the edge of the upper. I don't think a lot of this stuff is necessary, particularly all of these patterns coming down here. I never reached for these shoes after I did the review because I just felt that there was a bit too much going on around the shoes. Once again, they are a spectacular pair of running shoes. I just feel that there are others in my collection that do the job better, and therefore these ones are going as well. And finally, in the daily trainers, we have the Puma Pure Nitro. Or is it Nitro Pure? I'm never really sure. These are shoes that got a lot of attention on their launch, and as a journalist, this reminded me of why I pay for my own shoes rather than receive them for free. And by the way, every single pair of shoes you're seeing today, I have bought with my own money. Nothing has been sent to me for free. When these shoes were first released, even before they were released, there was a lot of noise about them. There was a lot of heavy breathing. I grabbed a pair and tested them very thoroughly, and what I found was a very nice, very comfy, kind of fairly average pair of shoes that did everything nicely, but that didn't do anything extremely well. I actually wish that I had bought them in a color that is more suitable for just wearing around as walking shoes, because I find these really, really comfortable to walk in. But as running shoes, yes, they're great. They're fine. If you've got them, you should be very, very happy with them. But there are shoes that can do almost everything better than the Puma Pure Nitros. or Nitro Pures, whatever they're called. Am I going to keep these or am I going to sell them? I don't know yet. I'm still very much sitting on the fence with these shoes. They are lovely to have on your feet. And as I said, for running, they're good at everything. They're not the best at anything, but they're good at everything. So I'm going to sit on the fence with these ones. I'm not going to sell them yet, but I might later on. Okay. Let's move on to the super trainers, the shoes that do it all. I'm going to start with my 2 pairs of Superblast 2s. Now, I am a big fan of Superblast 2s. I might be the world's biggest fan of Superblast 2s. In fact, when I heard the Superblast 3s were being released, just in case Asics screwed them up, which of course I think they did, I bought another pair to keep in storage. So this is the pair I've been running in. This pair I have never ever run in before. What am I going to do? I'm going to sell the second-hand pair of Superblast 2s, and I'm going to keep the spectacular, firm, do-it-all Superblast 2s that I've never run in. I'm going to keep them in storage and try them again in a few years and see what I think of them. Then we go to my 2 favorite sets of Chinese shoes. First of all, there is the Li-Ning Red Hare 9 Ultra, a real do-it-all shoe. It's very much a max stack shoe with 3 layers of foam, a really generous level of very sticky outsole, and an incredibly comfortable and I think absolutely beautiful upper. This is a super trainer because it really can do any run you want, apart from those super fast runs. I mean, the ones where you want a pair of carbon plated shoes or a pair of race shoes. The Li-Ning Red Hare 9 Ultras can do every run you want to do, so these are definitely keepers. Then, of course, we have the Dynafish Xiaonians, not quite as big and bulky and built as the Li-Ning Red Hare 9 Ultras, but the foam in these shoes is just exceptional. Every now and then a shoe comes along, like the Evo SL, where the foam in the shoe just sets new levels, and that is what the Dynafish Xiaonian has done. Not only that, it's incredibly light, it's incredibly comfortable, it runs slowly extremely well, it runs fast extremely well. This is absolutely a do-it-all shoe that I think will do just about everything that I want to do better than almost any other shoe I own. So both of these shoes, the Xiaonian and the Red Hare 9 Ultras, are going on my keeper list. And finally, here is the decision that has most surprised me. The awesome, legendary Asics Megablasts. These are a shoe that really transformed the running world when they were released because of the liveliness and the energy return that comes from the foam. I bought these when I was in Japan. I went for a few runs in them. I have always enjoyed them, but I have a real problem with the shallow nature of the toe box. There's really not much room in the toe box. I know I have the same problem that a lot of other runners have, in that I get my little toe very much worn down by these shoes. Anytime I run in them, I either have a very sore little toe for about a week or 2 afterwards, or I have to tape up my little toe before I go for a run, which is kind of annoying in and of itself. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am going to put my Asics Megablasts in the for sale bucket. So farewell, my friends. Right, what have we got left? All we've got left now are the fast training shoes and the racing shoes. Let's go to the fast training shoes. I'm going to start with another absolute favorite of mine. These are the Deviate Nitro 3s. Now, I know that Deviate Nitro 4 has been released, and I haven't actually purchased them because I've got 2 pairs of the 3s and I am absolutely in love with them. Once again, similar to the Superblast 2s, when I heard that Deviate Nitro 4s were about to be released, I had 1 pair and I bought another pair just in case Puma screwed them up. Now, this pair has never been run in. It's never been worn, and I am going to keep the never been run in pair and sell the worn pair. So these ones are going to stay in my collection. And then the last 2 pairs of fast training shoes that I have here, I'm going to talk about together because I actually think they're very, very similar shoes. I think they're both excellent shoes, but I am going to be getting rid of both of them for one reason and one reason only. That's because the Li-Ning Feidian Challenger 6s and the Asics Metaspeed 5s are both quite hard shoes to run in. They are exceptional for fast training. Both of these shoes will hold you at a fast pace very comfortably and very easily. And I think because of my age, I think because of the particular problems I have with one of my ankles, I find these less comfortable than most people would. I have not reached for the Metaspeed 5s ever since I reviewed them, even though I really enjoyed running in them. And I more recently reviewed the Feidian Challenger 6s, and I just don't imagine myself running a whole lot in these either. They are both exceptionally good shoes for the fast part of a fast training session, for those fast intervals, but for the bits in between, I just find them less comfortable than I want them to be. I think I want a little bit more padding below my forefoot. So it's partly to do with my age, it's partly to do with my running style. They are both exceptional shoes, but not for my collection. And finally, let's rip through the race shoes. The first and the easiest one to talk about is the Asics S4. When I got out on the road, I just found them really uncomfortable, very, very hard underfoot. I actually gave up running in them after about 2 or 3 test runs. And so the Asics S4s are definitely going into the increasingly full sale bin. Then we have the other Asics race shoes, the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo and the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. And it will be no surprise to any of you when I say that these are both keepers. I love the Edge Tokyo. I think they're just about the most comfortable race shoes that money can buy right now. And Ben, my 13-year-old son, loves the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. They are the shoes that he has broken all his records in, that he has won races in, and he would never talk to me again if I sold them. So both of these shoes are keepers. Then another decision which has really surprised me and will probably surprise you. I have here the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 and Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 4. The 3s are older, they've got a couple of 100 kilometers on them. The 4s are fresher, and I've really just run in them for testing purposes. Which ones am I going to keep? I'm actually going to keep the 3s, which even though they're a little bit heavier, I find the foam is just a little bit softer, a little bit more forgiving, and therefore a little bit bouncier as well. Where the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s, exceptional as they are a fantastic pair of racing shoes. I'm just not reaching for them as much because I'm finding, number one, there are other shoes that do the job a little bit better, and number two, I'd always prefer to actually be in the older version, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3s. So the 3s are keepers, the 4s are going. 3 racing shoes left. The first one is the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3, an absolutely crazy, mental looking shoe. It feels as crazy as it looks to run in. It feels as if you're running in a pair of high heels, but a pair of incredibly energetic high heels. It has a huge stack of foam beneath the forward part of your heel, and then a carbon plate that keeps all this foam together and stops things from getting too squiggly, but still it's a shoe that you can only really use for running fast in a straight line. You don't want to be going around corners in this shoe. You'd think that such an impractical shoe is one that I would immediately get rid of, but no, this is an absolute keeper. I love the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3. They just make me happy. Whenever I want to go for a run that's going to put a smile on my face, these are the shoes that I reach for. And honestly, when I open my cupboard and I look at them, I kind of smile. I mean, they're silly looking shoes. I can't believe that anybody ever designed them, and I'm really happy that I own them, so I am never ever getting rid of these. These are keepers. And speaking of fun shoes, the HOKA Cielo X1 3.0s have always been a shoe that I've really enjoyed. I actually went for a run in them this morning. I had an interval session that is part of my half marathon program, and they were very enjoyable. However, these ones are going in the sale bin, and that's only because I have so many great race shoes right now. And these ones, I find when I'm running at real pace, they just don't make the job feel as easy for me as most of my other shoes make running fast feel. They are lovely, they're comfortable, they have spectacular grip and spectacular looking grip. They run slow just as well as they run fast, which is also really unusual for race shoes. But I just have a couple of other shoes that do all of these things really well. well, and perhaps a tiny little bit better. These are exceptional shoes, but I need to make room, so these are going for sale. And so we're down to the last pair of shoes, and finally, for anyone who watches my channel, you will not be at all surprised to hear that the Puma Fast-R Nitro Elite 3s are staying exactly where they are now. These are my #1 race shoes. I just smashed my 10-year half marathon PB in these, and you know what? It actually made it feel easy. I don't think there is a faster shoe on the market right now. I don't think there is a shoe that gives you as much energy return as the Fast-Rs do. They are light, they're radical, but even for an old runner like me, they are spectacularly easy and fast to run in. It has a lot to do with three things. It's the energetic foam, it's the deep angle of this very, very strong, very stiff carbon plate, and it's a little kicker nose out the front. They all combine to create a real feeling of speed. And the evidence shows me it's not just a feeling of speed, it's real speed, because I just took 2 minutes off my half marathon PB in these shoes. Part of the reason that I'm keeping several pairs of race shoes is to use them in training so that I can keep my Fast-Rs for races only. So Fast-R 3s, absolute keepers. So finally, I said I'd discuss what might be my ultimate shoe rotation from all of the shoes that I've decided to keep. And here is what I think if I was to have a 3-shoe rotation. That would begin with the do-it-all shoe, which I would choose as the Li-Ning Red Hare 9 Ultra. This is a shoe that can do everything from easy and recovery runs to long, medium-paced runs. It can even start upping the pace a little, although this massive slab of foam means that you're probably not going to be breaking any speed records in these things, but this would be one of the 3 shoes I choose in an ultimate 3-shoe rotation. The second would be the Dynafish Xiaonian. This in a 3-shoe rotation would cover any of the fast training requirements. It can go slow happily, but it's just not quite as comfortable as the Red Hare Ultras. But the Dynafish Xiaonians, in terms of their comfort, in terms of their foam, in terms of their lightness, is a really great shoe for any fast-paced requirements. I'd actually happily use these in a race, and I hope to test them sometime in a half marathon. But in a 3-shoe rotation, these would be my fast trainers. And finally, we have a pair of race shoes, which once again, you're not going to be surprised, is the Puma Fast-R 3s. So this is my ultimate rotation right now. There's going to be lots more room in my cupboard once I've sold all of these shoes, and that means I'm going to go out and buy lots more shoes for review. So if you would like to see those reviews from someone who does buy all of their own shoes, then please do like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our reviews. Happy running. I will see you next week.